Hello, and welcome again to the Wait Until My Hair Grows Out podcast.
Make this plastic friend.
Let me take this gun out. It's good to see you. Hopefully, it's not too loud or the other noises or voices aren't going to bother you. So, it's 1 o'clock. I made it. I like being on time. God, I hate this right here. Can you believe that my father lasered me right there when I was a little tiny kid to make, because he wanted to have a gobble go straight down like that on my face? Can you believe that? It's true. He's a goddamn idiot. So, you might be wondering where I am or what I'm up to. I was suspended on Twitter. I said, "Who gets to hit you in the face?" to Elon Musk, and they suspended me for a week. And it was a joke. These poor bastards can't take a joke. Because remember, he had that little black and blue spot by his eye, and people said, or he said, his son punched him in the face because he asked him to. It sounds like nonsense to me, but maybe it's true. So I figured I would ask him, who gets to punch him in the face? And they just suspended my account right away for 1 week. So today I get back on Twitter at about 6 p.m. or so. And probably the first post I say is probably going to tell them to fuck off. So it's a shame that they can't take a joke. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even a veiled threat, you know? Elon Musk doesn't intimidate me. I talk to him like a normal human being. And so it's too bad that people want to suspend people that make jokes, you know? But I don't care. I started a new account anyway. That account is called The Last Gastrich because I'm the last Gastrich man alive. I'm changing my name to Jason Patrick Law because my father is a rapist and I don't want to be associated with him anymore. So, there's a whole bunch of things I'm going to talk about in this podcast, and I wrote some of them down. Let's take a peek. There we go. Got it. Well, I just broke a fast. It was pretty good. I broke an 8-day fast. And during the fast, I just had spirulina, sunflower oil, and a little coconut oil, a little bit of honey in the beginning. And then I stopped the honey. And that was about it. Yeah, it was awesome. I was never hungry. I got hungry this morning. This is the first time I've been hungry in a couple of weeks, I would imagine. And it's probably because I already ate and the stomach, my gut microbiome was crying out for more of what I just gave it. But good news, Walmart's got some awesome stuff. They have my favorite drink in the world there. Organic soy milk, unblemished, not harmed, not adulterated. They didn't stick sugar in it. They didn't stick GMOs in it. It's just perfect. Under $4 too at Walmart for a whole big carton of it. Oh, it's so good. And then these, Walmart got these. Is that epic or what? Yeah. All these. This was like just under $2. Can you believe that? Epic. So I got myself some green onion and some soy milk. And since I'm an organic vegetarian and I don't eat any meat, I've got a really picky diet. But it's amazing how soy milk has I think 7 grams of protein and 2 grams of fiber per serving. And that's pretty unique for a liquid, you know. Most liquids are not that healthy. And it's more on par with milk, cow milk, although there's no fiber in cow milk. So you should try it. I asked some lady if she liked it, or if she'd ever tried it, and she said no, she doesn't like it. Some people just dismiss it, but when I was looking for an alternative, I never really cared to replace milk with something when I became a vegetarian. But I noticed that the milks, and part of the reason why is oat milk and almond milk and cashew milk. You know, those three foods are awesome, but the milks are terrible. Yeah, there's like almost no protein in it, almost no fiber in it. It's like almost all watery. It's terrible. I wouldn't eat any of those juices at all. So yeah, soy milk is probably the one and only I want to have. So I'm really lucky that they have it. It's funny. So, well, I had to return to San Diego. You may have guessed that. It's not a big secret.
What is everything in this movie?
Sadly, my father did some horrible, horrible things to me and my mother and told me I couldn't even think about them until I turned 50. And so I know I look about 16 years old, probably, right? But last year, when I turned 50, I started having some terrible, terrible recollections and remembering awful conversations, and I still am.
You know the song.
And so I'm dealing with the trauma of being a victim. I mean, I already knew I was a victim, I suppose, but it wasn't in my conscious mind because I was told I couldn't even think about it. And I've got friends, family, and everybody who know that I was under a spell of sorts, and sadly didn't even deal with the consequences that my body suffered from the abuse because I didn't even recall that it happened until now. Yeah, and now I'm starting to deal with it more and look at it differently, you know? Just imagine having different ailments around your body and just two things. One is not really knowing how they got there. Then another thing is when your body produces less collagen at some part in your life. Yeah, some of the abuse that I suffered, my father thought that it would show up later in life. Yeah, he thinks a lot of people are suffering the same sorts of things. And you're gonna hear, just like the police hear me quote my mother and my father. I don't have any claims. I don't have any unique truths. I don't have a horse in the race. I don't want you to believe me or trust me. You know, I know what happened to my body, and I know what's happening now, and I know how I can prove it. And my mother told me all about it. My father told me all about it. My father was the kind of psychopath that liked to call the shots. So he just would say in advance what he was going to do to me and other people, which would give us time to prepare, but then it was also kind of shady too.
Wait, what?
So, sadly, my mom said that she thought my damaged rectum would be the key to getting my father incarcerated. She firmly thought that a doctor can examine my rear and determine that the scars were made 44 years ago and not any other time. And she's probably right. So I have medical insurance now, and when I go get looked at, I just went to the hospital and they ran a whole bunch of tests on me about a day or two ago. I went to Grossmont Hospital. They asked me if I wanted to go there, and I cried because that's where my mom died. I was born there, and then my mom died there. So yeah, I love her a lot, and I miss her, and she died real young, in my opinion. I think her mom lived about 15 more years than her. So I think she could have lived a lot longer too. It's sad. And I don't think she died a natural death. I was in Hawaii at the time, and it was supposed to be a normal surgery, so I didn't come back and think she was on her deathbed or anything. So, but I got this really terrible, sad email chain from my father telling me step by step how she died. And I guess the story goes, I think the true story, there's a couple of different stories, but I think the true story is that why do I keep looking over there in this thing? The camera's here, yeah? Yeah. How's that? Sorry. Anyways, I think the true story is that my mom went in to get her rear end repaired for the rectum damage that she had suffered from my father that she said she had. she thought he did it on purpose to tag her, keep her close, or slow her down, or whatever. She thinks that my father used a laser on her feet to make scar tissue marks and her legs, and then used another weapon to irritate those scar tissues to make her legs inflamed and hurt. My father told me that he gave me stigmata marks on my body with a laser, and I can see them. I see one on my palm, there's one on my foot, there's one on my other foot, because he's a psychopath and a rapist and figured he could hide behind religion for a long time if he tried. And he was trying to, in some weird twisted way, he's been trying to win me over. So I go, ooh, cool, torture devices. How do you do it? Let me in. Let's go use it together. I don't know what the sorry asshole has in mind for torturing me, except for to try to get me to stop talking to the police about his crimes. And I don't care. I told him I don't care if I roll into court with one eye, one arm, one leg, in a wheelchair with marks from head to toe. Well, that's what I'm doing. My mom thinks that he implanted something in us because he wanted to keep tabs on us. My mom said that he spied on me everywhere that I've ever lived. My dad mocked her and mocked me and mocked this day, saying I'm gonna sound like Forrest Gump, going, Mama said, Mama said, Mama said. So yeah, he's a real twisted man. But I know what my mom said, and I know the truth. And I love my mom, and she was actually a great person. Why she stayed with my father, I have no idea. She said it was her duty to God, that because she's a Christian woman, and she was married to him and pledged to God, she was, till death do we part, that she would stand, even though he raped her. And she said, I can call it rape. She said, you can call it rape. I call it rape. She called me in one time into their bedroom at 1558 Fair Glen Road, where my father lives now, the house he promised me, that he later said I don't get for no reason. He was raping her there, and she called me in, and I walked in. She had a t-shirt on down to here, and she made me look at a bloody tissue and said that he was hurting her and that he wouldn't stop. And he just stood there kind of sheepishly. But she said that he punished her for all the times that she spoke out against him, and that he was actually really mad that she was so against him and what he did. And they fought all the time when I was a kid and lived there. I moved out right before I turned 18, and I never went back. I lived at San Diego State, and I got a degree there. Took me 5 years, graduated when I was like 22, 23. I graduated in 97 in May, and I was born in August, so yeah, that was great. I got a bachelor's of arts in psychology. I wanted to diagnose my family. It was an exciting experience, and it's fun seeing kids today in San Diego going there. God, I really hate this stupid thing here. My mom knew that I would hate all of the damage he did on my body all over the place. The guy's a goddamn idiot. Rex Gastrich, Lindsay Rexford Gastrich. What a fucking loser. And he used me to get a positive reputation, to get soccer coaching jobs and get integrity that he didn't deserve, because he brainwashed me, and I didn't even think about what he did, so they weren't able to incarcerate him or to read me and know that he was a terrible person, because it wasn't even in my mind. Pretty twisted, but yeah, I hate it. This isn't how my body was supposed to age. This isn't how my body was supposed to look. He said that his laser he used on my ears to make him go like this. And he said if he would have kept using the laser on my ears when I was a baby, that he could have made him like Dumbo, like that. But he said he didn't want to do that because he didn't want me to look like I was adopted.
Following directions is super important. What does it say first?
and my mom hated it. You don't want to know where he lasered me, but he lasered me in places where nobody has ever seen. Maybe my wife, my ex-wife now. Everywhere from the ball sack to the anus, to the arms, to the face, to the head, to the chest. And the implants are pretty terrible too. A terrible concept to even consider. And go to the police. Tell them that your mom said your dad stuck an implant in your head and see what they do. They'll write it down and say, thanks very much. Here's your police report number. We'll get back to you. And that's about it. I just wrote a poem about how law enforcement and the medical community are not prepared to treat victims of unclassified weapons that they've never even seen of or heard of before. They're just not. They want to assume that it's something else, and they end up thinking that you're crazy, which was also predicted as well. But my father was a dropout from the draft for Vietnam. They didn't want him fighting over there. I don't think he was sane enough. And his brother went over there and fought and got shot up and saved an officer. So he got a Purple Heart and a Silver Star. My grandpa fought in World War II in Korea. And the story goes, he brought home a laser pen, said, don't touch it. And then my father lasered his eye and his brother's eye and blinded himself and his brother. And then his brother got his soldier friends to sodomize my father in revenge. And that turned him into an anal rapist. And he said everybody in the military rapes everybody. He says it's like a rite of passage. And then I was forbidden to join. My mom said, well, if that's what they do, then he's never ever joining the military. But he said my 2 uncles were raped and raped somebody. And he said my grandpa was probably raped and raped somebody. But as far as this gay fucking goddamn equipment that causes innocent people pain, his relatives know about it and they are too afraid to testify. And they think that they will be getting some money when he dies, and that is their incentive to keep quiet. However, I do have some relatives that feel a little bit differently. Yeah, and right now I'm connecting with all kinds of witnesses and relatives again. I'm writing letters. I've already sent about 24 or more letters out, and I got a bunch more to send here. Envelopes. Let me tell you. Let's see who these ones are gonna go to. Drum roll, please. Chuck and Judy Campbell on Fair Glen Road. I'm telling everybody on my street where I grew up that my father's a rapist. This one here is my witness that my mom talked to that nobody knows about except for the cops that I just filed a new report 2 days ago about. So I'm not telling you where I'm sending that one. This one's going to Rex Gastrich, who will need a subpoena to testify because she's so afraid, she said. This one's going to my cousin Bonnie Gastrich. This one's going to Suzanne Lutz, my awesome Catholic friend. This one's going to, I'm not going to say this one either because that one's another special witness that may just sneak up on somebody. May involve another crime altogether. So, yep, that's what we're looking at. Today, I'm going to finish writing some letters. Each letter I've crafted has been very personal to these people that I love. And it's also included, the police report that I've done. Now, the new report was actually filed with the sheriff because my house is, the jurisdiction is the sheriff, apparently. So, got a sheriff number that I'm going to include on some new letters now.
What about you? Do you have it open?
Nobody should have to do this. My mom hated what my father did, and she hated this plan. But be that as it may, and she thought that he was spying on her and didn't feel comfortable even talking to me about anything in our house. But eventually, little by little, when I was very little, she told me about some different witnesses that she told different crimes to that he committed against me. that I was supposed to contact and get to testify in court this year of my life when I came back and I decided to seek justice for the horrible things that my father did to me and to my mother. So I hope these cops are taking it seriously. I reported it to Officer Rimple in April. I flew here to San Diego from Portland, Oregon, because my mother told me I have to do it face to face. You don't report something like this on the phone. So I obeyed her, and it was hard. And then I reported another crime that he committed as well. And she actually wanted me to file charges in a certain order. So the rape is actually not going to be the first charge, the first civil suit that I file against my father. So, yep, and it sounds like there's going to be 2, maybe even more. I don't know. There could easily be 3, because I know about a third thing right away. And again, I'm not litigious. You know, but I'm not afraid to use the legal system. I'm an innocent person and I've been harmed. And I need to be made whole. And that's really the long and the short of it. So let me check my. Okay. Well, so I have a new poetry account, a new allpoetry.com account, and JP Law. Since I'm changing my name to Jason Patrick Law, I figured let's use JP Law. And I just posted 2 new poems up there. So I think it's got about 6 total poems that will be published in my 37th book of poetry. And probably publish that around Christmas time or something, I don't know. I just published my 36th book of poetry at the beginning of this month called School's Out Forever. And it was 115 poems. And so now I'm starting on my next book. This is vitamin C spray and it's great. If I told you that my father lasered me in my knuckles, would you believe it? What if you saw a little tiny red dot there show up? Then would you believe it? Look at how small my hands are. Look, does that look normal to you? My wingspan is 6'3" from fingertip to fingertip. And my height is 5'10". And I used to just attribute it to a Pop Warner football injury when I was 12, when I was having a growth spurt, because I went from 5'3" to 5'8" that summer. But I think there's a lot more to it. I think I was actually injured during the recovery phase, and that's what stunted my growth. Be that as it may, you know, I've got some marks on my back that my chiropractor can attest to from decades ago. So I don't know how a criminal defends himself, but saying that they happened before that or after that chiropractor, Dr. Gilden, saw me is going to be an obvious lie, because he recognized them right away. I've got a shoulder that's a little bit out of joint, and basically what happened was, because of the assaults of my father, my body evolved and got injured different ways that it shouldn't have. And why he did it is anybody's guess, but my mom thought he was trying to kill me, and then he realized he couldn't, and then thought I was going to try to kill him because I was going to realize what he did. And so he really hasn't known what to do. He's had just an ad hoc plan to try to get me out over my skis every step of the way, pretty much. And part of the angering part of this is that I guess he's told a lot of lies about me to friends and family and other people. And he's a liar, and a lot of times they've come to me and said that they didn't believe him and things like that. But some people do, you know, so I'd like to set the record straight. I remember a few months ago I wrote a poem that said called "Never Gay" because I'm not gay. I've never been gay. Never wanted to be gay. Never will be gay. I like women. I don't like men. I like men like I like brothers, and like I like boys, and like I like grandpas, you know? And then women I like sisters, but they're also attractive, you know? So I just have a normal perspective of people and sexuality. My father thought I wouldn't want to tell anybody that I was 50, so I might just conceal this whole thing because it kind of relies on me explaining how I couldn't think about it till I was 50. And there's about a dozen things that he hoped would stop me from even mentioning it because I would be too embarrassed. But I'm not embarrassed of the truth. You know, I think I look good for 50, and I think I'm gonna look even better here. I just started working out, and I treat my body very, very, very well as an organic vegetarian, and I don't even eat sugar or white flour, and I don't take drugs. Yeah. Another thing that people might find interesting is that I was actually told that I should go and be a homeless person by my father. My mom didn't like that idea, but my dad talked to me dozens of times about houselessness and said how Jesus was houseless and how I was supposed to be like Jesus and how it was going to be so great and all this. And he said he would help me to get off the street when the time came because it wouldn't be easy. So I tried it and I got myself off the street. I didn't ask for any help from anybody. And I didn't ask for a penny while I lived out there. I didn't ask for a penny before I went out there. And I worked and I showered every day. I never stole anything. I never did any drugs. And I guess that's unusual for people that live outside. First couple of years I lived in Long Beach, and I went to school full time, and I got over a 3.0 studying journalism and English creative writing. And then I moved to Hawaii and lived outside for a number of years before COVID. And then when COVID came, I didn't get a PPP loan, but I got the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So I got $563 a week. I was so stoked, and I got that for so many weeks, and I was so thrilled. I actually gave one of them away to all the poor homeless people in Hawaii, 20 bucks at a time. I gave $560 away, 20 bucks at a time. And I tried to give them away to different homeless people every single time, but I think I doubled up just maybe once or twice there at the end. But it was such a great feeling, you know? Because I've been giving houseless people things my entire life normally, and I ask them what they want, what they need, but it usually involves a little money or a little clothes, a little food. But you give somebody 20 bucks and like their whole face lights up and you just make their day. So I saved up my money and then I got off the street and I got into a hotel first. Then I lived off the grid. Then I had to come back to California to pay my respects because my great aunt Dixie died. And then, and that was terrible. I had to get therapy before that because I was a wreck. Because my aunt also abused me. Or excuse me, not my aunt, she's my cousin. She's my mom's aunt. So in North Carolina when I was 16. But in comparison to what my dad did, it wasn't as bad.
First? Oh, yeah.
And so yeah, I needed therapy, and I even got a restraining order because I didn't. She had some veiled threats for me about if I ever said anything, and I felt like I needed to deal with that as well. So I did all that, and then I went back to Hawaii, and I rented an apartment in Hilo, and I went to University of Hawaii for about 2 years, and then moved back to San Diego. Or excuse me, then I moved to Portland. I moved to Portland last year in July, and I stayed in some hotels until I found a nice apartment downtown, and I lived in my first studio apartment. It was pretty fun. It was different. The appliances were really nice. I had an induction stove that was like flat glass. So nice. Yeah, I used part of it to like stick stuff on because I didn't need 4 burners. And then it heated up real fast. And the only bad thing was you couldn't. I burned myself one time because you can't tell if it's still on. Yeah, but it wasn't a real bad burn, so that's good. Yeah, it was pretty. It was okay, and it was pretty inexpensive. So I tried tried the studio apartment living. Yeah, so that was voluntary. You know, it's. I was out for a long time and gone for a long time. You know, I left El Cajon. I lived in El Cajon from 1974 till when I was born until 1992 when I graduated high school. Then I was at San Diego State. Then I lived all around the county. I lived at SDSU for 5 years. I actually flew to Virginia for grad school for about a year or two, and then I came right back after going to Liberty Seminary in Virginia. And that was quite an experience. I didn't think I'm going to ASU grad school next year, or in August, and I didn't think that they would want my Liberty transcripts, but they do. So that's actually really good. Because I got super good grades there, at least my first semester. I made the dean's list. Yeah, got A's and B's. I didn't do quite as well my next semester, but I met a girl in Israel and on the winter's study tour, so I think that might have impacted my studies a little bit, might have distracted me a little bit, I don't know. But I pretty much dated her in between on my break. I don't know. I take responsibility for my mess ups, but I was stoked on the semester I made the dean's list because that's like, man, I had never done that before. But I was just soaking it all in like a sponge. Now I want to get a master's in education at ASU, and it's called post-secondary and secondary education. So like instead of getting a teaching credential, then I could get a master's and then teach high school and college. I'm also thinking that I want to get another 30-day emergency teaching credential here in San Diego and substitute teach around the county in the fall. That sounds exciting. I paid pretty well last time I did it decades ago. Or actually, maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, it was about 115 bucks a day for the public schools, and then it was about 85 bucks a day for private schools. So now, you know, over a decade and a half later in California, I bet they pay teachers at least 150 now a day, maybe 175. But you get into a call bank system and they call you in the morning and they'll tell you which jobs are available around the county. And so you can decide like, okay, do I want to go coach PE and, you know, at Valhalla, or do I want to teach English at Kearney, or do I want to teach, you know, PE at Point Loma, you know, that's how it goes. And then you figure out which one you want to go sub at, and you tell it, and you go. So you really just need a bachelor's degree, but then you also have to get fingerprinting, and you have to pay for the application. So all that, I think, is about 100, and then 140 more. So, oh God, I think I need a TB test also for tuberculosis. I hate that. Yeah, that actually made me not want to do it at all because I don't like needles. I've got a phobia of needles, and I don't like weird stuff injected into my body. Plus, the whole TB thing is stupid. Tuberculosis is not a disease that's endemic to North America. You know, we don't have it here. It's not here. I don't know what the deal is. Are that many people coming here from other places and bringing TB here that we gotta all get TB shots every single year to teach or work in the medical field and do whatever else? I don't know, but I hate it. I remember a decade ago when I was living in Long Beach, a little over a decade ago, I wanted to coach a soccer team and I got a TB shot and then I didn't get the job. And that was pretty, I was kind of upset about that. Because I went to all that trouble and I got stuck with a needle. And then I got really sick too. I'm not 100% sure, you know, where the illness came from. If it was, they say it's not from the shot, but you don't have to worry about that. I don't know if it was from the doctors, the hospital, you know, where I got the shot, if I got it from somebody that was sick there, or if I got it around Long Beach, or at school. But it seemed like there was an incubation period of time where I was fine, and then I got sick. So I think, according to the science, it's probably pretty impossible for the actual TB shot to make you sick. But it could maybe lower your immune system a little bit, so something else could make you sick. Yeah, I think they call it a dead strain or an inactive strain or something. Whatever they give you to build antibodies against, supposed to be lack the ability to make it ill. I hope they're 100% right 100% of the time, but because I got ill and I was very ill, and then I suffered another health problem while I was ill like that and blowing my nose. And that's a shame too. But you know, that's what psychopaths do. They look for a time when you're weak to hit you. They look for a time when you're suffering from some other ailment or pain to hide the pain that they want to cause you. And then that's when they get you. I've learned a whole lot about psychopaths from my father, because he's such a bad person and such a psychopath to a T. The only difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, I think, is the psychopath lacks empathy, and he lacks empathy. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Christians seem to fall under the sociopath personality type, seeing that they want to control things and control God, and they think they can. So I'm pretty sure Christians are sociopaths, and if they're psychopaths, that's not good, because that means they lack empathy, and they probably prey on the other sheep, because most Christians are not that way. It's pretty dangerous for like a really evil, bad person to be doing that to the flock, the innocent flock, like my mom, you know. And my mom would just tell me flat out, she's like, I didn't even think people like your father existed. She said, if I would have known that he was this way, I would have never married him. Because he never wanted anal sex before they were married, but after they're married, that's all he wanted. And she hated it and called it rape. And yeah, it's a shame. I think marriage by definition is enabling somebody, because that's what you do. You know, you enable your partner. And so, and I think saying that you'll be with somebody until they die is dangerous, because it gives them license to take advantage of you. I think my ex-wife might have taken advantage of me, because I made it real clear that I wanted to be with her and nobody else, and I was faithful. And it was obvious. And I was a Christian at the time, and that was part of it, but it was just my commitment to God and to her. My parents stayed married, and I don't know if they cheated on each other. I kind of don't think so. Unless you want to consider the anal sex my father had. Yeah, that's another terrible memory that I conjured up this year. I didn't want to ever think about, but my father hired this guy named Dave Moan to work with him at Rex Personnel Agency down in San Diego when I was a kid. And one day my mom caught him bringing a whole bunch of lube out of the house and started questioning him what he was doing, and then started kind of making fun of him and then getting angry. And apparently he was bringing it so he could sodomize Dave Moan, and so Dave Moan could sodomize him. And then I remember going to his office one time with her, and it smelled like poop, and she was really upset and said the place had to air out. And she would mock him and go like, do you ever get any work done? And then she thought it would take she was like, she didn't like it. She wanted him to think about her all the time, be faithful to her, and not have other sex with other people. But she thought maybe it would take the strain off of her, because like he used to rape me for years and quit to rape her, and then he was going to rape him. She figured, oh well, he said he didn't have to rape him. He said he was in another branch of the military and was already raped and liked anal sex because of it, and they exchanged it or whatever. Yeah, pretty disturbing if you ask me. Very, very disturbing. And I knew the guy, and I was at his wedding. I was a little tiny kid at the time. Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. Yeah, he was banking on me being too embarrassed. He said that, well, he's wrong, but he said all victims of sodomized rape, want it again. And my mother confronted him and said, that's not true. That's not true at all. She's like, I don't, and he doesn't, and we won't, so you're wrong. And he's like, yeah, they do, you'll see. Yeah. And she's like, well, maybe in your little gay military club that's true, but that's not true of rape victims. Rape victims don't want to be raped again. In fact, they stand up and for other victims and themselves. So yeah. And unfortunately, my mother said that he used to come home and want anal sex even more. He said that, she said that having anal sex with Dave Moon wasn't enough for my father, that he would come home from work and want to cornhole her as well. She didn't say cornhole, but I will. That's what my old roommate used to say. And it was really disturbing. And she didn't like it. And she said it was impersonal, and he would wear headphones, and she would be looking the other way, and it would hurt. And when she'd say stop, he wouldn't, and it made her bleed, and it's just a horrible, horrible situation. He used to drug me with something at the old house that I was first born in, and I used to wake up because it wasn't that strong. And then he started drugging me with something stronger at the newer place, and I wouldn't wake up. While he did it, while he sodomized me, or abused me. I've got real fuzzy memories of what happened after he gave me the drink that he gave me at 1558 Fairglen Road, because the other stuff wore off, but that stuff didn't. And I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a drunk, I don't even like drinking. Yeah, there's a time when I got out of the house, when I went to SDSU and I went to fraternity parties, and I'm a founding father of Kappa Alpha Order. And so yeah, I drank a bunch of beer then for a couple of years and stuff and partied, but I can't remember the last time I had alcohol. It was probably 5 years ago, maybe. Like alcohol. Beer, probably 8 years ago, maybe. I don't know if, I might have tried one of those Miller Ultras or something, organic, because I'm an organic vegetarian. So sometimes when some company, like big company or whatever, comes out with something organic, I'll go, I'll try it. If it's healthy or if I want to eat it. I don't. So then, but I have had some organic wine since then. Usually there's 0, 1, or 2 drinks of organic wine a day, and I haven't had it for a couple of weeks. But yeah, I'll have a glass of wine. I think it's actually kind of good for me. I don't think there's anything really, any negative side effects from a glass of organic red wine. And it's not that expensive. I like that Our Daily Red brand's good, or the Frey brand is also good. Yeah. It's pretty tasty. It's good. You know, I came to the conclusion, and I think my roommate used to say this, my first college roommate, Chris Clayton, that, you know, it's a good, strong, healthy, quote unquote, buzz, you know, just requires more booze than is healthy. You know, if you want to keep it under the recommended limits and just have like one drink or maybe two, you're not gonna feel like real drunk. You're not gonna have a real buzz on, and that's just how it is, you know. But it's okay, you know. It's like pretty sure that it kills brain cells. I'm taking a break from pot. I haven't had pot in a while, but pot's good for you, and there's really no good reason to take a break from pot, except for my mom told me that I should do it now because there's people that want to be witnesses, and that if I'm a pot user, they'll look at pot like PCP, and they won't want anything to do with me. So, okay. And the reason why I like pot is because my brain has cannabinoid receptors in it, because the human body evolved over a long, long time when cannabis plants grew wild everywhere and the human body soaked in the vapor. That's why we have those receptors. We don't have Snickers receptors. We don't have hamburger receptors. We don't have sugar receptors. We've got cannabinoid receptors. So I like, and you know, apparently this country's plan is to have crazy people tear down medicinal plants and have everybody jam plants into their head personally by themselves, which is really stupid, but they want to sell people pills and they're corrupt capitalist shitbags. So that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they want us to suffer and die, and in so doing, they want us to reach out to religions. So we choose Zionism, which is the way that they want to spend money. And we reach out to the goddamn pill industry and pop pills and suffer the consequences. And pop more pills and suffer more consequences. But pills have side effects. When they isolate a compound to put inside of a pill, they don't have the offsetting compounds in the plant. So there's real bad side effects sometimes. I got floaters in my eyes from one of the prescription pills they gave me, and they have not went away, like these little black dots. And my former wife, when I got them, I told her, and she said, "Oh, I've had those my whole life." And I go, "Really?" And she's had to wear glasses her whole life. And so she was born in Beirut. And so something happened there. They must have given her a shot. She said she got sick when she was a kid. So whatever medicine they gave her caused the floaters. And so she's lived her entire life that way. And I can just imagine her as a baby, you know, looking at the black dots like this and not like looking at her eyeballs, right? And not developing good vision and needing glasses. She ended up getting the like LASIK surgery, and that helped. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that our country expects us to be Christian Zionists and pill poppers, while Israel murders all of their neighbors within a 100-mile radius, and while pills tear our insides apart, while our body screams out for the plants that are illegal. It's a load of shit. It is a load of shit. So I've tried the concentrates, and I'm not crazy about them, but they're okay. What I like the most is not smoking, but actually vaporizing the cannabis flowers now. Either into like an inflation bag situation, or like a pen. So, and then my father, the hospital wasn't very impressed with my father's solutions to his rapes, but he had a couple, and he did research. He wanted me to harden coconut oil and jam it up my ass, and he said that would help heal the wound, the damaged rectum, and other health problems potentially. And he said he wanted me to eat vaporized cannabis, and then it would also treat the injury. So I don't know. I went to the hospital a couple days ago because I had bleeding down there, and it got worse exponentially overnight after I broke my fast. There was like a tiny little dot, and I broke it with the best food possible, man. I had a salad, I had mushrooms. I mean, it was just super healthy. I had tomatoes, nothing bad, no junk, no hard things. I mean, no reason at all. It should have been bloody, but it was pretty gross. And I took a bunch of pictures and just went to the hospital, and they ran a whole bunch of tests. And they said I need a colonoscopy and a specialist. See, my dad prevented us from seeing a doctor, the right doctor, whenever we needed it. And he wouldn't see one either. My mom said he kept leaving poop stains in his underwear because probably because he had the damaged rectum from the rape that he suffered, or whatever he did after that. And so we never got to see like the right doctor. He was afraid that if me or my mom got, like if he took me to a doctor to look at my rear end who was specialized in that, they would determine that I was raped and that he would end up going to prison. So that's one reason why we need healthcare for everybody, like universal healthcare. I need to be able to just walk in and go. I had it through him, I think, but I know, and her, my mom, because he worked and he bought it, and we had it as a family. But if these terrible things happen to me, I know they're happening to other people that aren't getting diagnosed because they're too poor. Well, I was pretty controlled and submissive, and since those things literally weren't in my brain, my conscious brain, it wasn't like I was acting on them, making conclusions based on the true facts and what happened to me. So I questioned my judgment. And also I'm really concerned about the way that other people perceive me and my father. And I hope they didn't get the wrong impression. I don't know how they could have known the truth because I didn't say it. I think my mom told some people, but now I'm gonna have to tell everybody because I want them to understand and also beware. You know, he's shown no signs of repentance or remorse. As far as I know, he raped my mom until she died in 2017. Yep, he wouldn't stop. He felt entitled. He said because he was married to her, it was okay with God, and she needed to submit to him like the Bible says. It's pretty crazy. You know, there's nothing in the Bible that says you have the right to make somebody else bleed or hurt somebody else for your own pleasure, or, you know, especially your wife or your family, anybody really. It's just insane. Psychopaths say whatever they think people will believe, and that was her thing because she's religious. Now listen to this. My mother said my father has a machine that sent her voices, his voice from the other room, words, literal words that she could hear in her head. And she said that he was going to do it to me one day. She thinks that he might have stuck implants in our ears or other places in our body, yep, to do different things. And there are some strange marks on my body. There was one on my face and one on my leg, and there was a time when they looked identical. But in recent days, the one on my leg has turned into just a red dot, and the one on my face has faded a bit. But I have taken some pictures of them, and I think those are the tags that these types of idiots like my father use when they use one of the weapons they use to harm people. But somehow he put marks on my body when I was in Portland, opened up some wounds on my arms and my chest. And he told me he was gonna do it that way so I could see it. He promised my mom he'd leave my face alone, which it appears that he almost has, except for this other health ailment that he gave me that I'm not going to talk about right now. I'll save that one for later. But yeah, he did, and it's just the tops of my arms. It's not the bottoms of my arms because I can't see the bottoms of my arms, and it's not my back, and it's just my chest. Yeah, really twisted, really terrible. This psychopath rapist has had decades to move chess pieces around to try to besmirch me and set up his innocence in the hour of his guilt. So we'll see what happens. You know, people aren't stupid, and people know the truth, and they want to know the truth, and they don't want some creepy rapist living in their community next to their kids and families and stuff. When to make matters worse, also I recalled how my father lied to me about his soccer team, or to his soccer team, and made fun of me. I guess my mom said that he told her he wanted to be an assistant girls soccer coach at Granite Hills High School to try to see if maybe there's a potential mate for me on the team. And she said, oh, okay. And so he did. And then he confessed to just making fun of me. I'm not sure exactly how she found out everything he was doing and saying, but I think she heard it, or he told her, she figured it out, and then she went to a game or something and figured it out. But she said that he was telling all the girls that I'm like gay and that I poop my pants and that I'm this and I'm that. And it was the way that he connected with the girls is by telling them about what an idiot I am. And it really makes me angry that he would tell people that I have an incontinence problem based on my own idiocy and not his rape, because that he caused the problem. And then my mom told him that and made it clear. And she was like, and he'd say, well, they don't know that, or they're not going to know that. And she's like, oh, so you just want to lie to people, and you want them to believe lies. And he's like, yeah, if they believe it, it's on them, kind of thing. And she just would roll her eyes. Because me and my mom were very honest people, and I still am, and she's dead. I've always lived under the adage, lies make people dumber. I used to go to church and Bible studies all the time because I wanted to learn the truth. And I've got folders, and I wrote a book called 10,000 Wise Quotes and Spiritual Sayings from the stuff that I learned from churches that corresponds with the Bible. And I just have no interest in lies. I think I've heard it said that you've got to remember a lot of stuff. I think my dad told me if you want to be a liar, you got to remember all of your lies, and I don't want to remember lies. I don't want to have to keep track of lies that I've told. Give me a break. All right, well, this has been about an hour, and that's about all the time I like to talk your ear off for. Remember, I do teach guitar lessons, and I'd be happy to teach you a lesson if you want. We could even do it online. It's my favorite job. I also write books and do a couple other things. Excuse me. But yeah, I like teaching guitar. I've got an electric American Fender Strat guitar, and I've played since 1994. I used to have a business called San Diego Music Lessons. Yeah, and then I changed the name a couple times when I moved, and then I renamed it Play Guitar USA. Yeah, I figured that would cover my bases, and that's the only instrument I'm teaching right now. So, yeah. I have a student I just taught for a couple of years, and he just wrote an album. Yeah, for school, so I'm real happy for him. I can't wait to hear it. He's a left-handed player, and I taught him from about ages 15 to 17, roughly. Yeah, I've seen him improve a lot, and he upgraded his guitar once. And so it's been a good experience. It's always great to see students learn and thrive. But I've taught students of all ages and skill levels. I've written some books on playing guitar and improvising. My newest one is called Soloing Made Simple. and you can find that on Amazon. And that's, pardon the yawn, I'm gonna go drink some coffee here right now, or some tea rather. Yeah, some green tea. But I will see you next week. It's always good to talk at you. Thank you for listening, and good luck.